All right, welcome in. I'm Brian Edwards with MajorWager.com here on Monday night to discuss the coaching carousel. It has been 99 days since UCLA AD Dan Guerrero made a move on Steve Alford. And why do you make a move on New Year's Eve? You make it so you can beat everybody else. You can get a head start on your coaching search. Yet all these jobs that have been filled, and yet UCLA has not filled its vacancy. Now, reports today having Rick Barnes in the mix, reportedly offered a contract worth around $5 million per season. Reportedly, Phil Fulmer, the Tennessee AD, came back with a sweet counteroffer. And there are conflicting reports out there, again, as of Monday night on what Rick Barnes is going to do. Some in Knoxville had suggested that it was going to be a decision that would come down this afternoon, but apparently it hasn't yet, at least as of almost 8 Eastern. So you would think he's going to sleep on it. Keep in mind that UCLA also is still paying $4.4 million to Steve Alford. And the buyout for Rick Barnes is $5 million at Tennessee. And they're still paying Jim Mora. And they're paying Chip Kelly a handsome salary. And they made John Calipari their number one target and offered him 8 years and $48 million. There's one problem with that. He would have to take a pay cut. So Guerrero, how he even has a job is unknown. There are also reports that they've touched base with Lon Kruger at Oklahoma. So you're looking at both two guys in their mid-60s that UCLA is targeting. Mick Cronin and Jamie Dixon had been mentioned over the weekend. TCU was unwilling to reduce the buyout for Dixon, and UCLA was unwilling to pay it. And from all indications, Cronin is working on an extension at Cincinnati. So he seemingly has used UCLA the same way he used UNLV a few years ago. And boy, did UNLV catch a bad break when they had hired Chris Beard, had him on the job for about a week, and then the tech job opens, and he takes that, and we all know how that's gone. Okay, so updating you on the SEC coaching hires. We've got 4 new hires, maybe a 5th. We'll see what happens with what transpires with Will Wade over the next month or so. There was a Yahoo report this weekend from Dan Wetzel and Pat Forty. I think Pete Tamble's byline might have been on there as well. But apparently the FBI has been in Baton Rouge investigating Wade. And there were quotes from, I think it was the associate athletic director at LSU, that the FBI had not contacted the school. So anyhow, A&M got its man, Buzz Williams, and what a job their AD has done in securing a nice tandem of coaches, football, basketball. Outstanding hire in Buzz Williams, great personality. He had been on Billy Gillespie's staff at A&M way back when, more than a decade ago, before Gillespie made the ill-advised move to take over BBN in Lexington. Bama, Nate Oates, kind of old news at this point. You can check out Christopher's video breaking down that hire even more so. I like that one. I like Buzz. Arkansas gets plan B or C. Beard was their top choice. They wanted him to say no first. They waited it out this week, and that ship had already sailed. But when they won the semifinals, I guess they had planned all week if they win Saturday, we don't need to waste any more time. And so they went and got probably plan C. I think Sampson may have been in the mix. Sampson, it was not done yet. He was working on an extension with Houston. At least that's what the Houston Chronicle reported last week. What else? Oh, Stackhouse to Vandy. Certainly the most interesting and I hate this word, make the outside the box. Anyway, but it is. It certainly is. That's the most interesting hire, and I'm fascinated to see how it plays out. The new AD was the commissioner of the G League, and Stackhouse was coach of the year in the G League 2 seasons ago, and he was the Memphis Grizzlies assistant this season. Other hires, Nebraska ball, outstanding with Hoiberg, and they need to retool that roster, losing James Palmer Jr., losing their point guard as well, and Isaiah Copeland, who had the season-ending injury when their season started going south. And Nebraska ball gets Fred Hoiberg, the mayor, 7-year, $25 million deal. And they're, like I said, their roster needs to get retooled. And like, Hoiberg kind of started that trend of just loading up on a lot of transfers, grad transfers, sit a year, play 2 years, 3 years, whatever, at Iowa State before he went to the Bulls. Musselman has kind of used that blueprint at Nevada, but Arkansas is only losing. Actually, they have one guy in the transfer portal, and they lost their big guy going pro. So they don't have a whole lot of roster room, but I mean, obviously that could change. But I like that hire, Musselman. I like all the SEC hires. I'm fascinated to see how Stackhouse does. We'll see on that one. Obviously, he's not a head coach yet. As for UNR, Nevada, out in Reno, I'm told Trent Johnson, the former coach, and also former coach at LSU, TCU, and Stanford, not in that order. He might be in the mix there. He would reportedly join Mark Fox. That's another hire I like by Cal. Mark Fox, former Georgia coach, former Nevada coach as well. There were reports that Trent Johnson had joined his staff at Cal, but don't rule him out at Nevada. And also, they could promote with Rex Walters, the former southpaw guard for Kansas, who was the head coach at San Francisco for a while and was on Musselman's staff. They could keep continuity and go with him within. Aaron McKee to Temple for Fran Duffy, the former Temple Owl and longtime NBA player. I'll give you an under-the-radar hire that I like a lot, and it's still baffling to me how UT Arlington fired this guy a couple years ago with their moron AD. Said that they expect to be the next Gonzaga. And Cross had won, I think it was 26, 23, and 21 games the last 3 years. But anyway, Scott Cross to Troy, Sunbelt. Look for him to have success there. I've liked Scott Cross for a long time. I had a lot of success betting UT Arlington during those last 3 years of his tenure. I thought Tulane got a really good hire in Ron Hunter after they fired Mike Dunleavy Sr. Ron Hunter, formerly taken Georgia State to 3 of the last 5 NCAA tournaments, and had an upset win when his son was still on the team a couple years ago. Still open. BYU, UCLA, quite a few others are open. Smaller schools. Dave Rose had retired. Former, I shouldn't call him a Phi Slamma Jamma member, but he was on those Houston teams in the early '80s. Not necessarily high flying like Clyde the Glide and Larry Mishaw and Michael Young. All right. I think that about covers it. We'll see what happens with UCLA. It's been a moronic coaching search. It'll be day 100 tomorrow. And we'll see if they get Rick Barnes. They're going to have to spend a lot of money. And I think he's going to stay where he is. And then where do they go next? Maybe Lon Kruger at Oklahoma. We shall see. I'm Brian Edwards of MajorWager.com. There's your updated coaching carousel. Thanks for joining us. Over now.